Welcome, Picker Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. All the moms out there, hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day. I know my wife did. It was just fantastic. And then, then you got to get back to the real world. And the real world today, maybe not the place most people want to be, as, big shock. I mean, I'm shocked. The Iranian war will continue as, big. Apparently the Iranians didn't want a peace deal really badly. Everything's pretty much, I don't know. Maybe the Trump administration's figured out, oh, wait, they're just going to keep saying that they want to make a deal, but then they're never really going to make a deal. And this is where we are. But you know what's interesting today is the gold and silver market, in particular the silver market, which we know, right, on these down days, when I guess war back on days, right, they're supposed to fall. Nope. I think we ran out of rope. And now the fact that there's no silver out there has created a huge problem. Silver, remember, we talked about watch out. If it broke through, today, $85, up $5. And that's still not enough. But a big week this week. We've got CPI, PPI. So those are the two big inflation data points. We get retail sales, right? So remember, we know that GDP first quarter wasn't what they were hoping for. And then at the end of the week, we have the summit with China and the U.S., the Trump and Xi Jinping summit. Why do I have a feeling that Iran is going to be the topic of discussion? And then the Senate will vote on Kevin Warsh's nomination. So, Jason, it really is. It's a big week for data. Obviously, we get more inflation data. We know that's not going to look very good. We'll get retail sales. It looks like we'll find out is Kevin Warsh going to be the richest Federal Reserve president ever? Yes. And then, of course, the meeting at the end of the week. And of course, the fact that the Iranians didn't make a deal, and word now, Project Freedom, which I don't know, lasted like 2 days, may be reinstated. And Trump says he is now mulling retrieving the, quote, nuclear dust that is still on the table. And on that news, by the way, a bunch of tankers in the Strait of Hormuz took a U-turn and said, we're not going to try to go through. And here we are. Welcome to Monday.
Here we are. Let's see what happens. I'm starting to get more of a picture of what's happening, Joe, and it just seems like we're headed for some ugly stuff.
Yeah,
which gold and silver will shine at some point. There's like any economic cycle, it's different than others, right, Joe? But there's one thing is when things really start to get ugly, gold and silver will start to rise up, and it's been rising up before all this stuff happened. So now it's kind of taking a break. Well, break time will be over here at some point pretty soon, and you want to have your savings in gold and silver.
Yeah, and again, Economics 101 eventually takes hold. The thing that is starting to get worrisome now, we're getting reports all over, especially in Asia, governments, society really starting to shut down due to lack of fuel. Vietnam right now is in a major fuel crisis. Pakistan in a major fuel crisis. The Indian president, Modi, was out encouraging his country, right, to consume the least amount of energy possible. And at the same time, he did ask them, hey, can you guys not buy so much gold right now? I don't know why that would go together, but apparently the people in India are like, yeah, no, we're not going to have fuel. It's going to cost a fortune. Inflation's going to be horrible. Yeah, we're going to line up in droves for gold. And then this morning, Saudi Aramco, their CEO saying that the energy markets will not get back to normal until 2027 at the very, very earliest. And of course, all of this depending on when does the Strait open. We know by the end of the month, some really, really important nations are going to be in a very, very difficult position. South Korea, Japan, the UK, China, India. Yeah, these are important places. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason on this Monday. Right now, the Wall Street's pretty flat. The Dow is up 9. The S&P's up 12. The Nasdaq's up 21. New all-time record highs. And of course, we told you that was going to happen. The bond market, 4,395. The UK gilt back above 5%. They just had elections. It did. Starmer, his party did not do very well. Right now, crude is trying to stay, I guess, somewhat positive, for lack of a better term. Brent crude 104, NYMEX crude 98, unleaded gas up 10 cents, heating oil up 3 cents, natural gas up 13 cents. Gold right now up $14, $47.30. And then on top of that, like we talked about, silver, look out, up $4.88 right now, $85.10. And this is through that resistance point. Now we're looking at, is silver going to run back up into the mid-90s? And then, of course, if it breaks through 95, then we're talking back above 100. And this just really simply has to do with, man, there's just no silver out there. And now Economics 101 has to take precedent over whatever the paper markets were trying to do. Probably the reason that crude oil isn't higher today is because they're being forced. And Jason and I, we kind of told you, hey, listen, a lot of these trading houses, they're like, okay, this is what we're going to spend in commodities, right? Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, steel, iron ore, this, that, the other. And all of a sudden, all of this money that they were dumping everything else for crude oil, they can't wheat. Boy, I don't know. The farming season is in big trouble. The fertilizer's got to be on the ground. I mean, I think maybe some places you still got 2 or 3 more weeks, but we're running out of time to get this stuff planted and fertilized. And There's just none of it out there. And so all of these, I guess, structural tightness, as they like to call it, is going to really start impacting on top of what are some of these nations that were, listen, they got, this is where our stuff came from. Right? This is where we got our oil from. This is where we got our gas and our diesel and a lot of it too. India and China, they do a lot of refining for the rest of the world. And they're just not able to do it because they don't have the product. We did get existing home sales today. Not good. And I don't know that anybody's really surprised. Interest rates, the price of homes, they were hoping for a little bit of a bounce back. Remember, we've had 2 of the last 3 months have been terrible. Home sales, essentially, well, they said up 0.2%, much less than what they expected. Total sales, annualized rate, 4 million, which is right at the bottom here. Median selling point. So if you took the most expensive home, the least expensive home, and you just did that till you met in the middle, still up 0.9% year over year, $417,700. That is the highest for any April on record. And again, this is not how it's supposed to work. Wait a minute, you're telling me home sales suck? Yep. The worst going back to the 90s. On top of that, the inventory of unsold homes. Now, see, that's always been one of the things lately. Well, there's just not a lot of inventory out there. There's just not a lot of inventory out there. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, there's 1.47 million homes out on the market. This is the highest inventory since before COVID. The highest amount of homes on the market since COVID. By the way, the pre-COVID number for April, 1.8 million. Let's round up here, 1.5 million. So we're almost back to the normal amount of inventory. The problem is home sales back when before COVID were way higher than today. So actually, the inventory numbers not a good sign, right? This should say prices should be falling, but yet, Jason, just not happening because, well, everything that goes into building stuff is more expensive.
In my neighborhood, where hardly any homes are for sale except for the new builds, suddenly in the last couple of months, a bunch of houses going for sale. Suddenly, and I got to believe it has economics involved a little bit. You could do profit taking. Hey, we're going to move into a smaller house or we're moving away. But I live in a little cul-de-sac, and 3 homes on the cul-de-sac went for sale suddenly. And then the house behind us in the next street, and the prices are kind of ugly, Joe. I was like, you kind of, if you watch stuff like, like an average guy, watching your finances, you kind of want a good gauge of what your house is worth in case you sell it. And, these guys are not doing me any favors driving these prices down. The prices are going down, Joe. Now, the houses in my neighborhood are a little. I wouldn't say they're super high end, but they're definitely not starter homes. And I think $100,000 a home less is what's going on right now, Joe. Homes that were $700,000 are now $600,000. I mean, that's what they put them on the market for, which means who knows what the sell price is going to be. The one across the street sold in 5 days. That's good. But it sold for under $600,000. So the realtors must be really having trouble selling homes, and they are pushing prices down to get sales. That is, indication, Joe, that people don't have money. Hey, here's your big house. You can make a whole lot of money. How much, I know what I paid for my house as COVID was just getting running, right, in 2020. And the house that's selling behind me for $600,000, I don't think their basement's finished. But essentially, they're selling it for just a little bit more than what I bought the thing for. So, right? Wait a minute. 6 years later, the house prices are going back before the inflation. Before we hit the inflation again, it's looking pretty ugly, Joe. There is some real ugly things going on.
It's going to be housing. It's going to be very interesting. Right? These prices, everything tells you these prices cannot stand. Right? Whether or not there's inflation or not. The problem is I'll say this. There's people out there that have to sell for whatever reason. Right? Mm-hmm. Boy, you're in a tough spot. You are in a tough spot.
Better have that mortgage paid down a little bit. Better have that mortgage paid down a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know what? Very interesting, very quiet. Now, listen, it's not on the front burner right now. Foreclosures are rising, and they've been rising now for the last year. And it did it again last month. It's got to be, man, we got a lot of stuff going on. There is obviously euphoria type stuff going on in the markets. Michael Burry, he was out saying, it's everyone's doing it now, right? Hey, this is .com bubble. This is housing bubble, right? Whatever bubble you want to associate, this is how they feel about all of these markets. And the only thing that, and it sounds weird, but the only thing that can really save them is inflation. And I don't know if inflation cannot save the housing market. I just don't know. Is housing going to be, you know what? Now you got to put housing on the radar. Which one of these things is going to cause the market to start the collapse again, right? What event is going to make the bubble burst? Is it going to be an energy crisis where nations, at some point, our nation's going to be forced to, hey, no one goes to work today because we don't have the gasoline to go to work. I don't know. It feels that way.
Well, I try not to get too much into the gloom and doom because it never ends up being that gloomy and doomy. But I also don't sit in the ignorant zone, right, where people are just like, it'll get fixed. It'll be all right somehow. I try to be somewhere in the middle because it's never always rosy and it's never always the end of the world. But I was reading a couple reports that were sent by listeners, and they're saying, look, Europe runs out of gasoline, oil this month. They said the United States will run out of diesel first, and then by July 4th, we'll be out of, it'll trickle in. There's going to be gasoline from other sources. It said that as of Saturday, so a couple of days ago, that if the war just ended on Saturday, we would have 64 weeks before supply chains are going to be fixed. It says this particular, it's a pretty good podcaster, but saying he basically said, I am sounding the alarm bells. Everyone needs to stop and look at what's going on. We are sleepwalking into a supply chain disaster the world has never seen. And when you use the term sleepwalking, it sure feels like everybody is just wiped out with all of the emergencies that happened over the last bunch of years, and that we're just too conditioned to not worry about emergencies because it always ends up seemingly ending up okay on the other side. But supply chains being disrupted, it's funny. He said the last ship that went through the Strait of Hormuz that was heading towards America showed up on May 3rd. The new Corolla. That's what it's called. The ship's called the new Corolla, Joe. You know me with driving those cars. So I got perked up my antennas. It's like, yep, that was the last one, guys. No more. And it said, if we fix these supply lines, it'll take 64 weeks. I mean, it was mentioning all the details. Like, look, there's mines at the bottom of this ocean that have to be cleared out. There's wreckage and stuff that has to be cleared out. This strait is, it's just not easy to get through. And now there's all this stuff going on, and I don't know, Joe, but it sure has the feel.
California is in trouble.
Yeah, California is more dependent. Yeah.
California will lead the way here, and there was something about May that if this thing wasn't over before May was over, there was going to be like this seemingly cascading effect that nobody in the world was going to escape unharmed.
Yes, ma'am, bye, guy.
800-951-0592. Tomorrow, I'll have a good silver special for you tomorrow, but today, $20 gold pieces. Better hurry. Gold's up 20 here, 47.35, 48.50. At 800-951-0592. Wow. Silver up $5.50 here. 85.75. Get ready. Listen, we've been telling you this from the get-go. Right? This is an opportunity, and you need to approach it as such. This is a huge opportunity. Should silver be $85 right now? No. 120? Somewhere between 100 and 120 right now. Should gold be $4,750 or whatever? No. I don't know. Where should gold be? I don't know. 53, 54, maybe 5,500. Why isn't it? Well, we have the dollar up because we decided to go to war with Iran. But that's really all that's happened, right? And now the people that like to pretend, oh, don't worry, everything's fine, guys. Well, now rate hikes may be off the table. No, they're not. Nope. You know why I say no? Why am I so confident? Even though, listen, we're going to get these inflation numbers tomorrow. They're going to be terrible. Right? But maybe, if we're lucky, but it won't be as bad as we thought, right? Or some nonsense like that. Because as soon as the economy's in trouble, they're going to slash those rates. And believe me, I don't know. Obviously, Jason and I have done a good job of telling you, we had way too much oil, right? Because remember, oil was back in the 50s. We've gone from way too much.
Got a comment about that.
Right? To, hey, dummies, do you realize how close we are to this calamity? And the markets, listen, give the paper markets credits. They're trying to convince everybody that it's not going to happen. Jason, everywhere I look, though, that people know, they're all saying the same thing. Even if the war ended tomorrow, which it's not going to, the ships can't get there fast enough.
It's not even just the war. It's the fact that the oil is and the products aren't moving through.
Right.
Put the war aside. We'll say the war ends, and the war ends with the Strait of Hormuz is closed and there's a blockade. The war is over, but there's a blockade, right? I was doing some revisionist history, Joe, about too much oil. And we got that really big inflation in 2021 and 2022. April 20th, 2020. This is a date we'll have to start talking about more and more. Because it happened, but it was 1 month into the COVID shutdowns. So what would have been probably earth-shattering news turned up being into a a huge economic thing for about a week, and then it just went away. Oil was negative $37 a barrel.
Right.
Negative 37. The oil producers had to pay you, if you were receiving it, to take it, which shows you a glut and a massive amount of too much oil. Now, when the inflation got up and running a year later, the oil had recovered. It went to $10 about a week later. Then it got to $30. It was moving up then. It was going. But this was a COVID situation. It wasn't a, oil-producing war with a foreign nation, right? So, Joe, I think it's very obvious that there was, if you want to have an inflative situation, back then, negative $37 a barrel oil, which was just one day, was really good to stop runaway inflation. But the goal is inflation now. Now the goal is inflation. You can't have negative $37 a barrel, which I think that might have been where we were headed, Joe. I'm wondering if that's where we were headed. With all that oil moving around, $55 a barrel could have been $35 or $25 a barrel. We'd be driving real cheap this summer. But there's some very deep-pocketed individuals that are going to get hurt by such a thing. A lot of oil. And here's the thing. I watched the whole history of oil. And the way, with the amount of oil that is actually available, which they never want to tell you that it's in abundance. But there's boom and bust cycles because of how hard it is to control the monetary system with the energy that we use, which is oil. So there's already built-in boom and bust cycles. This one is the most manufactured false scarcity of oil I've ever seen since I've been really paying attention to this, Joe. And it will cause inflation in a massive way. And it's going to reflect a nasty version of the inflation that they caused on purpose after World War II. They caused inflation after World War II. And by the 1970s, that's where the ugly part came in. Right? And the inflation made gold suddenly be repatriated from other countries. And, they were able to inflate nice and steady because there was a lot of rebuilding going on. Well, they're not going to rebuild Gaza, and that's not a very big project compared to building Japan back up or building Germany back up. Right, Joe? Where's this inflate your way out economy? And then here's the thing. Here's the thing. And Kevin Warsh said it. This is one of his points. He thinks we can get moving through this in an inflative cycle with AI. Trump is going to meet with China. What do I get? They have the cheap AI. Why do I get the feeling there's a huge? China's our friends, guys. China's our friends. When it comes to economics, China is our friends. Why do I have a feeling it has nothing to do with Iran when Trump goes to China? They're going to try to figure out how to get AI to play the game of an inflative cycle to build something that soaks up some of this mess, Joe. And this is not a forecast anymore. This is a bet. The Fed's just betting on that this might actually work. But here we are, Joe. Here it is. AI is going to save the planet, or it might just be the biggest bust ever.
Oh boy. Well, you know what? It better save the planet because otherwise it's going to be hard for AI not to be a bust, right? Because I think there's going to be a lot of good, for AI, kind of like the internet, right? There's a lot of good from the internet, but look at what happened. That bust cycle, and the amount of money that these companies are spending, it's almost impossible for them to actually deliver with what the markets are saying that they need to deliver to make all of this work. When we get back, a major announcement from the Department of Energy. Uh-oh. Tell you what it is when we get back. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Monday. Gold up today. Silver flying today. Warning you. Get in. Right now we're watching 4,800 is where gold runs. We told you $83 for silver. Just told you that last week. Here it is. Here it goes. Gold's still below it, 48.50. Get on it. Because, I have 10,000 is coming. So I'm going to say 800-951-0592. The U.S. Energy Secretary was out today. Actually, I guess it was yesterday. Chris Wright, by the way. Here's what he said. And again, things are a lot worse than what the markets are reflecting right now. But this is what happens in bubbles. All measures that can be taken to lower the price of the pump and lower the prices for Americans, this administration is in support of. We are releasing all the oil possible from our strategic petroleum reserves. 30 other nations are doing the same. We revised the EPA regulations on summer gas blends to make it easier for refiners to produce more gasoline. It's a great idea for a little while. Now, what is next? Well, the administration is saying they may have to take the gas tax off. They may have to. So how high are they thinking prices are going? Right? Because let's face it, they haven't done it yet.
Trump did make a comment that said he said, I'd be okay with $8 gallon gas. So he did say that over the weekend.
Well, guess what? It may be here. I hate to say that. Now, 18.4 cents for a gallon of gas. Okay. So let's just keep it simple. Let's just say, okay, well, they can lower the price by 20 cents a gallon. That's the best that they can do now. They've done everything else. This is the last one. Diesel, 24.3. So let's just call that 25 cents. And of course, here's the problem with all of that. That is less money, right, for the government, right, which is obviously what? Going to increase the amount of debt. But guys, this is something where by the end of this month, so right now, listen, our refiners are running at max capacity, and they are putting every drop of gasoline and diesel they can make is either going out to the U.S. or it's going on ships to go somewhere else. Literally running maximum capacities.
And reserves.
Right, and all the reserves, right? We told me, right? Everything. And by the end of the month, the world is going to be in a crisis. And, of course, I've been warning you this for the last several weeks. Look at these oil inventory report numbers, right? 5, 6, 7 million barrels of gasoline and diesel fuel gone every single week, right? Of course, Cushing, Oklahoma, right, already at historic lows and going lower. Jason, this is, I don't get it.
Shutdown.
But yes.
They're getting ready for a shutdown. I told Joe this morning, it's starting to look maybe like COVID was just a beta test for the Iran war to see what a shutdown would look like. Now that's what I'm starting to wonder. And that negative $37 a barrel on April 20th, I think cut COVID short. I think that kind of oil price shock, so dramatic and violent, actually cut down COVID a little faster than it was. I think that operation was supposed to go for a little longer, and then they saw what exactly. Look, you don't know what's going to happen until you test it, right, Joe? They didn't have the Strait of Hormuz closed in 2020, But they created a situation which would, be somewhat like that. And then they shut everything down, and they saw what happened to oil. That told them at negative $37 a barrel on April 20th, 2020, where oil inventories needed to be in a shutdown. And it sure looks like we're headed that way, Joe. It sure has hey, man, we got to inflate our way out, but this isn't World War II inflation. We have nothing to build. We got to get activity to slow down all across the planet. We need AI and people working from home. We need using less energy, less oil, less. We need people to stop moving around because we're going to start giving out free money. And if we give out free money and people are running around doing stuff, it makes it worse. Because you run around mixing up inflation, prices go up even more dramatically, and they can see if they can try to control how bad. How bad is the inflation going to get? That's going to be the true test of it, Joe. Because this looks like they're getting ready for a shutdown. The world looks like it's being prepared for a shutdown, and in Vietnam they're already shutting down society, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's already started. It has already started in some of the what I'll call lesser important, but lesser important nations. It's already started.
Gold almost doubled in August in 2020 after the shutdown, Joe.
800-951-0592. Michael Burry. Of course, we all know Michael Burry. Right, he was the one that actually saw the what was going to happen with the housing market and the financial crisis. For any stock going parabolic, I recommend you reduce positions almost entirely. So for those of you out there that are traders like that, there's your warning from somebody that knows a lot more than I do when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Jamie Dimon sold his stock in his own company, JP Morgan Chase Bank. You got Berkshire Hathaway in their largest cash position ever. We've been talking about all this stuff. All the biggest players are exiting the market, at least between 15 to 45%, a lot of them. And then some of them are bigger positions than that, Joe, that they're just going to cash.
Yes. By the way, tomorrow, CPI, tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, of course, the Department of Energy saying, okay, we've got one last card to play, and that is stopping the federal gasoline tax. But it's, not quite 20 cents a gallon for gas and only 25 cents for diesel. It's not going to be nearly enough. Obviously, I think they're expecting another big jump at the pump here. We've been very kind of fortunate that we've been hanging around this level. Now, something like Arizona, we got it first, but it hasn't gotten worse, right? We're still hanging right below $5. A lot of the other places we're seeing the gas prices in the East and the Midwest, right? They've started spiking into the $4+ range. It sure looks like Trump now saying that the ceasefire with Iran is on life support. I don't know what that even means. I mean, obviously, Iran said no. Either we're going to start bombing them again, or we listen. What needs to happen now? I don't care what anyone says. We just need to get control of the Strait of Hormuz, whatever that looks like. I'm not even sure I know what that looks like.
Yeah. And there's a huge move in the largest transfer of wealth. We've heard this all over the place for a couple of years now, and it's happening right now. Joe, think of a large company that has a cash position that's billions of dollars, and then Kevin Wirtz comes in, and even though he's a rate hiker guy, right, he's going to start by lowering rates. So you'll lower the rates. Now you have a cash position to buy up everything when it crashes, and then, hey, bank, thank you for those low rates. Can I borrow some money and even buy more stuff? The largest entities on the planet are just going to get bigger, and I'll go right back to it. Remember this peanut gallery at the inauguration of Trump back in January of 2025, Joe? He had all the billionaires there. They were all, what were they doing, Joe? they were being told, here's what's going to happen. You better lock arms because we're going to be the richest men on the planet, and we can do it together if we pool our resources, Joe. Now it's happening. Here it is.
$20 gold, 48.50 at 800-951-0592. Tomorrow I'll have a silver special for everybody. Stay with us.